Protection with Blessings. Maṅgala Sutta. By Venerable Uttamo Thera. 32.2. Contemplation of the Mind. Cittānupassanā. In daily life, the minds are arising continuously by knowing the sense objects, aramanas. Starting from the rebirth consciousness, the mind depends on sense objects and mind base, aramanas and vathu, and is arising continuously. To be aware of them, it needs practice. We are talking about the mind very often. For example, I am angry, but we cannot reflect its nature. The mind changed too fast that the Buddha himself mentioned the difficulty of comparison for it. Therefore, we cannot know it with normal mindfulness, sati. We cannot know about this mind with the same mind. This mind only can be known with the following mind, another mind. Without knowing, and mistakes can come in with clinging and attachment. It is natural that without knowing rightly and problems follow on. In a sutta in Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha said that people know Dharma knowledge viewed the mind as stable and always existed. But if they took the body in this way was better, because it existed for the whole life. Viewing the mind in this way was not proper. The Buddha gave the following simile. A monkey roaming through a forest grabbed hold of one branch, let that go and grabbed another, and then let that go and grabbed another, etc. In the same way, mind or consciousness arises and ceases, and then follows by another mind, etc. By day and by night. Contemplation of the mind is to know the nature of the mind by observing with mindfulness, sati. Let us study the nature of the mind. In the texts, which describe the mind as sometimes included mental factors, cetasika. There was not talking about the mental factors in the Satipatthāna Sutta. Here it referred to the knowing nature of the sense objects. Sometimes mind referred to samadhi, concentration. The mind was governing the world referred to mental factors. In this sutta, the mind knows the objects which are arising from the 6 sense doors. It is not including feelings, perceptions and mental formations. The natural phenomenon has its characteristic. Here the mind knows the objects only. So, here, the individual character of the mind is knowing. In nature, there are 2 characteristics. One individual characteristic, sabhava lakkhana, not relate to others and belong to itself. 2 universal characteristic, samana lakkhana. In vipassana practice, has to start at individual characteristic. Without starting from here and contemplate impermanence is not knowing. This is only knowing by thinking. Only seeing the real impermanence becomes vipassana. This will only discern the ultimate reality. Thinking may be right or may be not. Right thinking can be a support for the practice. But not knowing the ultimate reality directly. Mind or mental phenomena are bending or inclining towards the sense objects. This is its characteristic. The mind can take the objects from far away. Even a lot of ordinary Buddhists take this point wrongly, as the mind can travel very far away. This is similar to the soul or atta. 2 kinds of mind cannot arise together and only one by one. The place of the mind is the heart base or mind base. Heart base was by the commentary and mind base was by the Buddha. In Pali, Hadaya and Vathu. This mind base is not existing there. But it is arising there. Experienced meditators knew this point. As an example, the sounds of a guitar are not in the music instrument. The sounds are arising only by plucking or strumming with the fingers. The nature of the mind is inclining towards the sense objects. Vedana is feeling the object with the mind. The mind touches with the sense object is the nature of the contact, phassa. Usually, we are talking about knowing the mind knows the sense objects. For example, this flower is beautiful. It is too hot. This is talking about contact, phassa, and not about the mind. We are talking about external objects. Forgetting the mind and talking about the objects. In the contemplation of the mind, the Buddha told us to be aware or mindful of the mind. The mind also mixed with mental factors. All minds know the objects that they are only one nature. Here the Buddha distinguished the minds related to its situations. It can be 16 types. Not necessary everyone has 16 types. The Buddha mentioned it in general. Here, the 16 types of mind and in the other places were not the same. E.g. in the Abhimata Sangaha, Comprehensive Manual of Abhidhamma. For contemplation purpose, the Buddha divided it into 16 types. It is like separating the cows with their colors, but all of them are cows. In the same case, all minds, nature is only knowing. The instruction was, he knows a lustful mind as a lustful mind, etc. If we contemplate only greed or lust, then it becomes contemplation of Dhammas. But in the real contemplation, with the discrimination of, is it the body or the feeling? Then you miss the point. Not necessary to discriminate in this way. You will be caught up with an object of contemplation. In the Satipatthāna, the Buddha taught the possible 4 types of object in vipassana practice: body, feeling, mind and Dharma. We cannot say, I will contemplate the only mind, only feeling, etc. Whatever it is arising, only need to know the arising phenomenon there. Contemplation of the body is existing as form, rupa, and not mixing with others. But feeling, Vedana, mind, consciousness, and dharmas are mixing up together. So, it is unnecessary to discriminate them. In the Visuddhimagga text and Mahasi Sayadaw, both instructed to contemplate whatever was arising. In the beginning, it is difficult to contemplate all of them. With the practice and it becomes easier. The 16 states of mind are mundane and not including the supramundane. Their 8 categories can be subdivided into 2 sets. These 2 sets are ordinary states of mind and higher states of mind. The first set includes unwholesome and wholesome ordinary states of mind. The second set is concerned with the presence or absence of higher states of mind. 8 categories of ordinary states of mind. 1. Lustful, saraga. 2. Without lust, visaraga. 3. Angry, sadosa. 4. Without anger, visadosa. 5. Deluded, samoha. 6. Without delusion, visamoha. 7. Contracted or sloth and torpor, sankata. 8. Distracted, vikata. 8 categories of higher states of mind. 9. Great or jhanic mind, mahagata. 10. Mind without jhanas, amahagata. 11. Unsurpassable or immaterial jhanas, anuttara. 12. Surpassable or material jhanas, sattara. Here the unsurpassable does not include supramundane. Anuttara and sattara are also higher and ordinary wholesome mental states. 13. Concentrated or samadhi mind, samahita. 14. Without samadhi, asamahita. 15. Liberated, vimutta. 16. Without liberating, avimutta. Here Sayadaw referred to the liberated mind state is with insight knowledge. For example, by seeing anicca, inconstant, liberate from nicca, permanent. And then as a second stage, he abides contemplating the mind internally, externally, and then both. All are the same nature. With the practice, the contemplation sticks with the mind and knowing about it, and with the development, discerning the arising and passing away regarding the mind. The mindfulness that there is a mind is established in him to the extent necessary for bare knowledge. And then the yogi frees from wrong view and craving, ditthi and tanha, becomes independent and not clinging anything in the world. Now, the mind is free. Protection with blessings. Maṅgala Sutta. By Venerable Uttamo Thera. 32.2. Contemplation of the Dhammas. Dhammānupassanā. Condensed. The four Satipatthāna objects only have mind and body. Contemplation of the body is called rupaparigaha, discernment of the body. Contemplation of the feelings and mind is called namaparigaha, discernment of the mind. Combined, the body and the mind contemplations become Dhammānupassanā. In the contemplation of the body, the contemplation is on the real material phenomena. They are arising by causes and conditions. They are originating from kamma, consciousness, temperature and nutriment, kamma, citta, uttu, ahara. Some material phenomena are not by causes, the outcomes of the real material phenomena. They are called non-concrete matters, anibbhana rupa, e.g., the space element. There are 28 matters, 18 are concrete and 10 non-concrete matters. In contemplation of matters, only contemplate the 18 concrete matters, e.g., the four great elements. In contemplation of the mind, only contemplate the mundane mind with their mental states, because they create the suffering of the round of existence. Among the 5 path factors, contemplating mind, sati and nana, panna, are the main important factors. Because sati takes the object and nana contemplates. The meaning of Dharma is quite extensive. Therefore, define its meaning accordingly with its function. If not, it can be confused. If taking Dharma as nature, then it includes everything, even Nibbana. The main meaning of Dharma is not a being and not a soul, nisatta and nijiva. Combine with others have to understand as has its nature. So, it includes all. Contemplation of Dhammas is in 5 sections. 1. The hindrances, nivaranas. 2. The aggregates, khandhas. 3. The sense spheres, ayatana. 4. The awakening factors, bojjhangas. 5. The Four Noble Truths, the 4 Ariyasakha. Why the Buddha only divided these 5 dharmas? Dharma is extensive and these only are important. In the world, it is very important to distinguish what is important and what is not or unimportant. Most human beings are wasting their precious times and energies in unimportant things and matters. This point is very important to take care, reflect and act in our daily lives accordingly. 1. The 5 hindrances, the 5 nivaranas. The 5 hindrances are: 1. Sensual desire, kamacchanda. 2. Aversion, bhayapada. 3. Sloth and torpor, thina middha. 4. Restlessness and worry, uddhacca kakakka. 5. Doubt, vicikiccha. In the practice of samatha or vipassana, to remove them far away is very important. If not, the practice cannot progress. Even wholesome dharmas cannot arise. These hindrances are the causes for the defilement of the mind. It weakens knowledge. Even it can defile the purified mind, e.g., some yogis lost their samadhi which had been developed. For each hindrance, the yogi has to know them in 5 points. For example, sensual desire. 1. There is sensual desire in me. 2. There is no sensual desire in me. Contemplate and checking the hindrance. This is not only arising now, but also happen very often. Some ask, this is practice or not? Sayadaw said that this was contemplation. If we do not reflect and check, how we know it exists or not? With knowledge, we can correct it. This point is very important. Usually, people only are thinking about what things they have or not have. E.g., money, power, fame, etc. So, people are always thinking with defilement, kilesa. 3. He knows how unarisen sensual desire can arise or why it happens. Have to find out the causes. Why it happens, the Buddha did not mention it here, but he taught in other suttas. For example, lust arises because of wrong attention, ioniso, on the beauty of the object. Therefore, defilement arises and increases when the problem has arisen. 4. How can the arisen sensual desire be removed? How to remove it when it happens? The lust can be removed by contemplating the unattractiveness of the object, asubha. 5. How can an arising of the removed sensual desire in the future be prevented? The other hindrances are also contemplated in these ways if we can find out the answers and try to remove them. And then contemplating dhammas internally, externally and both. With the development, the yogi discerns the arising and passing away in dhammas, etc. 2. The aggregates, the khandhas. The yogi contemplates dhammas in terms of the 5 aggregates of clinging in the following ways. The Buddha taught 3 ways. 1. Body aggregate, rupakhanda. A. Such is material form, knowing its nature. B. Such is its arising. C. Such is its passing away. The other 4 khandhas, feeling, cognition, volition and consciousness, are also in the same way for contemplations. 3. Sense spheres, ayatanas. The yogi contemplates dhammas in terms of the 6 internal and external sense spheres, in the following ways. With the contacts of the 6 internal sense spheres, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind, and the 6 external sense spheres, forms, sounds, odors, flavors, tangibles and mind objects, the 6 consciousnesses arise. It is not necessary with every contact and fetter, samyojana, arises. If it is arising, then find out the causes. There are 10 fetters: belief in a substantial and permanent self, doubt, dogmatic clinging to particular rules and observations, sensual desire, aversion, craving for fine material existence, craving for immaterial existence, conceit, restlessness and ignorance. The Buddha's instruction. He knows the eye, he knows forms, and he knows the fetter that arises dependent on both, and he also knows how an arisen fetter can arise. How an arisen fetter can be removed and how a future arising of the removed fetter can be prevented. The other internal and external sense spheres also know in this way. The instruction can be put into simple terms. 1. With the contact of sense doors and sense objects, mind consciousness arises, etc. 2. Fetters can arise. 3. Why does it happen? 4. How to remove it? 5. What has to be done for removing it? And then the yogi contemplates the dhammas internally, externally and both, seeing the arising and passing away in dhammas, etc. 4. The awakening factors, bodhichangas. These are the mental qualities that provide the conditions conducive to awakening. Just as rivers incline and flow towards the ocean, they incline towards nibbana. There are 7 bodhichangas. 1. Mindfulness, sati. 2. Investigation of dhammas, dhamma vicaya. 3. Energy, viriya. 4. Joy, piti. 5. Tranquility, passaddhi. 6. Concentration, samadhi. 7. Equanimity, upekkha. Why the Buddha taught the bodhicanga dhammas? As a human being, it is very important to know about the unwholesome dhammas, so that we cannot fall into it. Also, as a human being, it is very important to know about wholesome dharma, so that we can develop it. If we observe the world today and will know how important these points are, e.g., political conflicts, society problems, immorality, all sorts of pollution, etc., are happening more than before. If we know our mind by checking and observing, it becomes clear that what should have to be done and what should not have to be done, what is proper and what is not proper, what is beneficial and what is not beneficial, etc. The instruction for awakening factors is, if mindfulness, sati, is present in the yogi, he knows that mindfulness awakening factor in him. If mindfulness not present in him and knows that also, the yogi knows how the unarisen mindfulness factor can arise, and how the arisen mindfulness factor can be perfected by development. The above instruction can be mentioned in simple ways. Contemplate 4. 1. I have sati. 2. I don't have sati. 3. How to make it arise. 4. How to develop it. The other 6 awakening factors are also practiced in these ways after that, contemplating dhammas internally, externally and both. With the development, the yogi discerns the nature of arising and passing away in dhammas, etc. 5. The 4 Noble Truths, the 4 Ariyasakas. The final exercise among the Satipatthāna contemplations is the 4 Noble Truths. The instruction is, the yogi knows as it is. This is dukkha, this is the arising of dukkha, this is the cessation of dukkha, and this is the way leading to the cessation of dukkha. The 4 Noble Truths have been explained quite in detail before. Therefore, give only a rough idea. In the Buddha's first discourse, the penetration of the truths had 3 levels each: study, practice and realization. Only we know the teaching that it can be practiced. With the practice, only one can have the realization. The Buddha was like a doctor. The 4 Noble Truths were like disease, dukkha, virus, craving, tanha, health, nibbana, and medicine, the path factors. 1. The first truth of dukkha, dukkha has to be understood. 2. The second truth of the cause of dukkha, its origination has to be abandoned. Craving, tanha has to be abandoned. 3. The third truth of the cessation of dukkha, its cessation has to be realized. This is the realization of nibbana, or the ending of dukkha. 4. The fourth truth in the way to the cessation of dukkha, the practical path to this realization has to be developed. This is the Noble Eightfold Path. Therefore, the 4 Noble Truths are the outcome of the practice. For the penetration of dukkha thoroughly, one must do the vipassana practice, which is sila, samadhi and panna. With the practice going on until to the ending of vipassana process, where dukkha, the 5 khandhas, mind and body, and the cause, craving, tanha, ceased. This is Nibbana. The prediction. Near the end of the Satipatthāna discourse, the Buddha gave the prediction or guarantee for the yogis who had practiced diligently without wavering would have the following results. For 7 years could be expected final knowledge, arahant, or non-returning, anagami. Let alone 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, 7 months, 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, half a month and 7 days, one of 2 fruits could be expected for him. These were not exaggerations. The Burmese monk, Soon Lung Sayadaw, 1877 to 1952, had his final realization within 4 months, i.e., from the beginning of the practice to the final realization, 4 paths and fruits within 4 months. The year was 1920. For Sayadaw's life and his practice, see Jack Cornfield's book, Living Buddhist Masters. This section on the 32nd highest blessing of seeing the Noble Truths is the most important of all the blessings. It is connecting with the whole Buddhist practices to end dukkha. Therefore, I want to present more on this section. Actually, 30th blessing, austerity, 31st blessing, celibacy, 32nd blessing, seeing noble truths, and the 33rd blessing, realizing Nibbana, are connecting with practices. Satipatthāna practice for everyone. The following Dharma notes are from the Dharma talk given by the Ven. Dr. Nandamala. Without practicing Satipatthāna, no one can realize paths and fruits, magga and phala. There were enough evidences about this in some suttas. This point was mentioned in the Nalanda Sutta, from Satipatthāna Samyutta, SN.47.12 Nalanda Suttam, and Mahaparinibbana Sutta, DN.16 Mahaparinibbana Suttam. Then, Sariputta answered to the Buddha was, every bodhisattva of the past had to abandon the hindrances with samadhi practice, had to concentrate on the Satipatthāna practice, and had to develop the awakening factors, bodhicāngas, and became a Buddha. The Buddha accepted his answer. Then, Ananda also mentioned the same thing. Everyone, by abandoning the hindrances, contemplations of the Satipatthāna and developing the awakening factors, became a noble being. Some writers wrote, did Satipatthāna cut off the wrong view, dithi, or craving, tanha? The Buddha Dharma is cutting off all defilement, kilesas. The differences were only in the number of defilements which had been abandoned. For example, the stream enter, i.e., Sotapanna, has cut off all wrong views and some amount of greed, anger and delusion. Some amount of greed, anger and delusion here means these defilements which can send a being to the woeful planes of existence. Then, Sariputta asked Ven. Anuruddha, as in what extent a yogi could be called a trainee. Sekha, someone realized any one of the lower stages before the arahantship. Then, Anuruddha said that someone who had developed some parts of Satipatthāna was called a trainee, still in training. And after fully developed, it called one beyond training, a sekha, an arahant. In the Sala Sutta, from Satipatthāna Samyutta, SN.47.4 Salasuttam, the Buddha asked the novices and young monks to practice Satipatthāna. What was the reason? For understanding the nature of the body, the feelings, the mind and the dhammas. It was practicing to know about them as it was, yathabhutam. For becoming someone beyond training, a sekha, had to practice to the point of full understanding. After becoming an arahant, also had to practice Satipatthāna. For what reason? for peaceful abiding in fruition state, phala samapatti. In the Anguttara Nikaya, there is a section called Satipatthāna Vagga, Navakanipata. There are 10 suttas in which the Buddha mentioned the reasons for practicing Satipatthāna. An. 9.63 Sikkhadabalyasuttam n. 9.72 Cetasovinibbandasuttam. 1. For not breaking the 5 precepts, Paṅcasila. 2. To abandon the 5 hindrances, Paṅca Nivarana. Therefore, to remove all unwholesome dhammas is Satipatthāna practice. 3. Sensual objects are binding the mind. One has to practice Satipatthāna to remove them or stay away from them. 4. To cut off the lower 5 fetters, samyayanas, i.e., identity view, doubt, clinging to particular rules and observances, sensual desire and aversion. This refers to become an anagami, non-returner. These 3 lower fetters send beings to take rebirth in sensual realms. 5. To be free from the 5 destinations, yati, i.e., hells, animals, hungry ghosts, pita, humans and deities. Also called the 31 realms of existence. This refers to become an arahant. 6. For abandoning of the 5 kinds of selfishness, makarya, or avarice. These are, with dwelling place, connections with relatives and supporters, on fortune and wealth, on beauty and fame and with dharma. 7. To cut off the 5 higher fetters, i.e., the desire for becoming material jhanic gods, and immaterial jhanic gods, conceit, restlessness and ignorance. This refers to become an arahant. 8. To move away from the barriers of the mind, sitokila, such as doubts in the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, and the practice, hate and aversion to one's companions in practice, etc. With all these barriers in mind and the practice not going smoothly. 9. There are shackles of the mind, cetasovinibbanda, such as sensual objects, one's body, physical forms, material jhanic existences, etc. People have sila or practicing sila for the desiring of them. So, it needs to be freed from it. For removing them have to practice Satipatthāna. 10. For extinguishing of bodily dukkha, mental dukkha, sorrow and lamentation. Practicing Satipatthāna for these 10 points are connecting with the 7 results mentioned in the introductions and the end of the Satipatthāna Sutta, i.e., for the purification of beings, for the surmounting of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of dukkha and discontent, for acquiring the true method and for the realization of nibbana.